Alrighty, God Squad, before I get to that interview, we are taking a real quick break so I can tell you all about Manscaped. Precision engineered grooming tools for, you guessed it, ear balls. Whether you have your own pair of furry family jewels or you just get to give them a squeeze on somebody else from time to time, no balls look or feel better than the ones that use Manscaped. Trust me. And now, just in time for the holidays, you can gift yourself or gift your favorite pair of balls the best buzz in the biz. Just visit Manscaped at manscaped.com. Use promo code Rocky for 20% off your next Manscaped order. That's manscaped.com, manscaped.com, and use promo code Rocky for 20% off your next Manscaped order. Get busy buzzing, boys. In November 2015, I went to a Patriots-Giants game at MetLife Stadium. It was Chase's preferred club seats by way of invitation, but that's irrelevant to the story. And it was only a little cold out, and I loved the people I was with, and we got unlimited free chips and hot cocoa and warmth whenever we wanted because, like I mentioned, Chase preferred club seats. Before the game started, right before the teams run on the field, they had this pre-game spectacle. The cheerleaders are out there killing it. There's music and planes flying above us with this huge American flag soaring over the field and fireworks. The energy was, I don't know, I guess the only way I could describe it is sensational. And shit isn't always sensational. Sometimes shit is corny, but this was sensational. And I turned to my left, and I said to the person I was with, America is so fucking cool. And he smiled at me without missing a beat. He agreed. And fortunately and unfortunately, in 2015, I was well aware that America was an unjust place. I was well aware that it was an unequal and unfair place. But for that moment, I was being gaslit by my country via smoke and mirrors. Only 7 years later did I realize that was what was happening. In perfect Rocky fashion, I was falling in love with America's potential. And that is one of the scariest things a person can do. Fall in love with potential. Did you know that in other countries, if they want to parody Americans at a party, they do it by screaming and holding red Solo cups? That's what we've been reduced down to, yelling and holding red cups. That doesn't really bother me. We are loud, and we do like to party, and to be honest, we can move forward and purchase the silver aluminum ones. They look sleeker, they're better for the planet. But what it boils down to is Americans like to party. We like to have fun, but there's a certain chunk of the population that's robbing and wants to continue robbing us of that. Instead of using their powers for good, they use it for evil. They use it for control. They shout, "Support our troops!" You know our troops, the young people that we train to go kill overseas, and then when they come back injured or, I don't know, traumatized perhaps, and they struggle to acclimate to the rat race that we live in, we throw our Starbucks change in their old cup. If we don't need it to feed the meter for the car that's rocking a Support Our Troops bumper sticker. There's a chunk of our population that knows the dangers of living and breathing in this country while being black. Yet they choose to ignore it. Half of that chunk's chunk know it. They see what's going on. But ignorance is bliss on the cul-de-sac. And I have a cousin whose wife is black, so I don't see what the problem is. I am not a racist. And the other half of that chunk's chunk is working to propel racism because they're weak and they're fragile and they've inherited and been taught hate since before they were born. It's in their blood. So they squeeze onto it tight and then they hide behind white robes and badges. They live in that scarcity, hateful mindset. I once heard somewhere, I don't know if it was social media, TV, or in passing, that if police were meant to protect and serve, then why are they giving us tickets when they pull us over for a taillight instead of fixing it? Just something to think about. And women, the only vessel to human consciousness, are in danger of not having full control over our bodies. Perhaps you didn't hear me. Women who can physically bring life into this world, whether they choose to or not, are in danger of not having control of what goes in and out of our bodies. No one should have to give examples of why that's wrong. And if you're listening to this and you need to be convinced of it, then close your eyes. Imagine us hugging a real nice tight hug, and I'm rubbing your back. And you relax a little, take a deep breath, and let go of that need to control what other people are doing with their bodies. And deep breath again. And repeat after me. The only reason a woman's body is my business is because they are in jeopardy and there is strength in numbers, and I am an ally. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, I would say, my body, my choice. Very good. And if you are a female who is pro-life, then I also want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine me hugging you tight, giving you that hug that you so desperately need. And I'm rubbing your back. And now you take a deep breath and you give me your ear. Bitch, are you crazy? We both know that you are bugging right now. Your vagine is a portal. Her vagine is a portal. My vagine is a portal. Behind closed doors, you know what period panties are. And there's been a moment in your life where a woman has given you a tampon when you've been in a bind, or you've given another woman a tampon when she's been in a bind. Perhaps you were at a Motley Crue concert and they were just about to sing Home. You know who's going to give you a tampon? If you feel your period coming and you don't want to miss that song because it reminds you of when you lost your virginity? Girls, girls, girls. They're the only ones who are going to help you out in that moment. Not boys. We have to have each other's backs. Now you might be married to the most hateful, bigoted motherfucker on the planet, and right now you're in a bind and you have no way out. And he wants you to vote red. Now you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. We all do. But honey, he can't come inside the voting booth with you. Vote for your body autonomy. And lie, bitch, if you gotta. Fake it. We invented that shit. Make this country safe for you, for your babies, for your fellow Americans' babies, should they choose to have babies. I'm not perfect. And when I've messed up in the past or gone against my better interest, I have always known in my heart what was right. That is our superpower as women. We know what's right in our hearts. So do what's right inside that voting booth. See? Wasn't that a good hug? When you vote, if you write in names on the ballot, particularly made up, not real candidates, just know that that really fucks it up for the poll workers and it makes their jobs 5 times harder for every harambe that's written in. So chill with the joke that you'll never be able to see play out and let them just get home fast and safely, please. I started this intro with the sole purpose of getting the message across that if we vote for what's right, no war, equity, body autonomy, if we vote for the people who are in favor of those things, well, we can all spend way more time partying together on this rock flying through space. Voting for what's right just lets you love more stuff and have more fun, babes. Spread the goddamn word. And always fight for your right to party.
Time for
the
Rocket.
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, hello. Did you have a good week? I sure hope so. Did you get your Halloween costumes returned and repurposed, or am I the only one not dropping the ball over here? I didn't watch a lot of Halloween movies this year, mainly because I was trying to walk straight in the Tilt-A-Whirl carnival ride that was all of the month of October. So, on Halloween night, I finally sat down and watched my favorite scary movie, Scream. Is it even Halloween if we don't watch Scream? Of course not. 26-year-old spoiler alert coming your way. As I'm watching, I'm thinking, oh my God, it's so obvious that Stu and Billy are the killers. But is it obvious because I know the movie, or is it obvious because I know people better? And because I've been watching this movie since I was 8, I'll never know that answer. But the question put me in such an existential whirlwind that I had to pause the movie and think about it. Some time passes, I press play, I fall asleep naturally, only to wake up at the part when Jamie Kennedy, who plays Randy, is screaming at Jamie Lee Curtis, who's in the movie he's watching, "Jamie, turn around," over and over. Now my mind is blown because the killer was behind him in that scene, in that moment. And he's really named Jamie. So he's screaming his own name this whole time while the killer's behind him, and the whole thing was so meta. And if I can see all those things I didn't know about a movie I've seen dozens of times for years and years, what else am I missing? I would like to issue an apology to the Backstreet Boys 20 years too late. Saturday, we all heard the news of Aaron Carter, pop star of my generation and younger brother to Backstreet Boy member Nick Carter, passing away. I happened to be somewhere Saturday night after hearing the news that was heavy playing the Backstreet Boys songs unrelated to Aaron's passing. They were already on the queue. And I just thought, I've really been a hater. As an NSYNC girl, I'm holding on to some rivalry of boy bands from my youth and gigging on the Backstreet Boys for staying together. They're just playing their hits tour after tour. But we don't hate on rock bands for staying together. No, that's preferred. The Backstreet Boys are just out here living their dream and selling out venues while they play music with their best friends. The truth is, I bump Backstreet Boys and they've ended up on more than one of my playlists. It is time for me to release my negative feelings toward them, because those feelings are projections. The boy band war is over. And in 2022, there is room for both NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. They can exist on our playlist together. And honestly, I'm just salty NSYNC won't do a reunion. And it's not going to happen for 10 years at least when Justin turns 50, so don't hold your breath. That's a real bummer about Aaron Carter. I saw him in concert in 8th grade once, and he was really great. The subways were running impeccably this weekend. Yeah, they were there when they said they'd be. No traffic, no long wait. And instead of accepting this, I am looking a gift horse straight in the mouth. It was too suspicious. Why is the subway working so well on a Saturday? Well, it was because we had company. The marathon was this weekend. The city was showing off. New York really shoved the mess in the closet all weekend and said, "Oh no, you are not coming on our trains from outside the city and complaining that you were late because of something we did." I wish the marathon was always here. I got an ad on Instagram, which I had said months ago that something like this would happen, but I got this ad for these daily mushroom pills that, frankly, it was perfectly targeted to me. And I would have purchased immediately if my willpower wasn't as sharp as my wit. The woman in the ad looked so much like me. I mean, eerily like me. And I said this would happen. Ads are going to get so good, it's going to look like we're already in our phone using the product. I'm actually very grateful I don't have a shopping addiction the way these ads blindside you. The only thing I'm addicted to is marijuana and being that bitch. So unless you can better sell me that, a product I already own, these ads are really going to have to step up their game. And that brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. Number 1, you ever notice when someone says, "And we had the best doctors"? Wouldn't it be cool if all the doctors in every hospital in the greatest country in the world were hired to work in hospitals better equipped for all of them to be the best doctors? Number 2, what's up with vampire music always having a banjo undertone? Number 3, I think I sing throughout the day too much to ever be on a reality show. I'd cost them a fortune in royalties. And number 4, the word business broken down is busyness. Damn. My guest this week is comedian Charles McBee. Charles is not only a hilarious stand-up comedian, he is also the head writer of Comedy Central's Hell of a Week with Charlamagne the God every Thursday after The Daily Show at 11:30. So please check that out. His wild word was bloody, and his story will leave a stain on your brain. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram, at Wild Nights Pod on Twitter. If you want to watch extended interviews with all of my guests, please subscribe on YouTube. And if you want to support the show with your wallets, you can join my Patreon for $2 or $5 a month. A big thank you and a future thank you to everyone who's written and who will write a review on Apple Podcasts when this episode is over. It really does make a difference. And a huge shout out to my listeners in Jamaica and Ireland. Jamaica for putting me on the Comedy Interview Apple charts, and Ireland for putting me on both the Comedy and Comedy Interview charts. Thank you so much for listening. Keep spreading the word, Party God Squad. And now, please enjoy my Wild Nights conversation with Charles McBee. Charles, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm very excited to have you. Happy Halloween. We are recording on Halloween.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Careful out there, everybody.
I know. This is definitely a late night. If you're taking the subway home tonight, this is definitely a night to take a cab, which are also dangerous.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so just stay home and watch Dahmer.
Stay home and watch Dahmer. I couldn't get past the first episode. Did you watch it?
Absolutely not. That's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I tried to get into it. I know the hype of everything, and I was like, all right, I'll give this show a try. And I watched the first episode, and I was like, hard pass.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm Gucci on that. But have at it.
Have at it if that's your cup of tea. But we won't be joining the view party.
Exactly.
Are you dressing up for Halloween?
You know what? So we had a whole thing here at the show on Thursday, because that's when we tape. So we did a whole, costume thing, the whole nine. So I'm all costumed out right now.
Yeah.
So I might just keep it chill for tonight.
Yeah.
I got a show later on, but other than that, I'm just chill. To me, it's like a Monday night to not do anything. I'll take that. Yeah, absolutely. What did you dress up at the office? I was a sugar daddy.
Oh, okay. So how do you dress up like a sugar daddy? Tell me.
So I had some nice, cool pimp clothes on. I shaved. It didn't really take much for me, but I shaved the top of my head and let the side of my hair grow out on the side of my head. So I had a nice George Jefferson going on.
Nice.
And then and I had a wad of $1 bills that I would just hand out to all the women. I'm sure I'll get Me Too for this later, but I would just hand them out to to all the women on the staff just randomly, and they'd come up to me and be like, "Hey, sugar daddy." I'd be like, "Hey, girl."
Here's a dollar. Yeah. Was it real dollar bills?
Oh yeah, I had to go all the way.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I think that's the dream with the sugar daddy. I've always wanted one because who doesn't like free money? But I don't want to have to touch them. You know what I mean? That's the part I can't get past, is the not touching them.
Right.
I want the money.
Yeah. Cash at me, but don't touch me.
Don't touch me at all. And also, it's dangerous out there. You don't want to be a sugar baby and then end up in the back of a trunk all bloody.
Or end up on an episode of Dahmer, and then that we won't watch because you and I won't see it. But
hell no, we're not watching. And that is also a very bloody show. So Charles' wild word was bloody. Charles, please take us into your wild night story, bloody.
Well, here's the thing. And by wild night, it was a wild day.
Perfect. That's totally fine.
Day into night. So I moved here, New York City, many moons ago, but with aspirations of being an actor. And so I figured, it should be easy. It should take about 3 weeks, and I'll be on Broadway or something like that, right? That's usually how it goes. So I go on where every serious thespian goes to look for roles, which was Craigslist at the time. and I looked up acting jobs, and wouldn't you know it, there were plenty to choose from. And so I saw this one that was an independent film. I have to use air quotes when you say independent
Yep.
film. And this guy was shooting this independent film, and I reached out to him, and without even really having to audition, like I got the part, which to me just meant, oh, I'm brilliant. Like clearly,
Naturally.
yeah, it's like these stories you hear where somebody gets discovered
Hmm.
at the mall or something. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be, a movie star now.
Yeah.
So he goes, he didn't even send the script. He was just like, it's gonna be a lot of impromptu,
Hmm.
be Curb Your Enthusiasm esque. So just I'll give you the day and time, and then you show up, and we're gonna make this great film. And I was like,
Okay.
okay. So he sends me the day and time. The day was like, I forget the day, but it was an afternoon. It was
Okay.
in Brooklyn, near the water, near the Hudson. And I had also booked a callback for a play, an off Broadway play.
Okay, so you're on fire.
I'm on fire, right? So the off Broadway play was that night. So I told the guy, I said, listen, I don't know how long this is gonna go, but by 6, I got this call back for a play. He was
Hmm.
like, don't worry, you'll be in and out. It'll be great. I'm like, yes, I'm a star, right? So I show up on site, and there was no crew, which one would think of when you're going to an independent film set.
Right, right.
There was no crew. It was just him and one other guy. And so I was like, oh, I get it. We're doing it guerrilla style.
Hmm.
This is Tarantino in his early days, right?
Right.
Scorsese in the 70s, right?
Hmm.
So he goes, this is what's going to happen. You're going to walk. He has his little camera. He's like, you're going to walk down this path. This guy's going to pretend to stab you, and you're going to fall to the ground. I was like, all right, sounds easy enough. So he goes, all right, action. I start walking. Guy stabs me. I fall to the ground. And then the guy who just stabbed me pulls out a thing of fake movie blood that I was not forewarned about.
Okay.
And the director goes, pour on the blood. And the guy just starts dumping blood all over me. So I'm like covered head to toe in fake movie blood. So
Right, right.
I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So the guy yells, cut. I go, dude, what the
Yeah.
hell? Mind you, I didn't have the testicular fortitude at the time to go, cut. What the fuck is going on here? I'm
Yeah,
thinking
exactly,
like,
exactly.
I'm like, oh, I don't want to ruin the shot, but what the hell?
You could make or break my entire career.
Yeah, with the career, this guy's Tarantino. He's
Yeah.
Scorsese. So I go, what? I go, bro, you didn't tell me about this. He's like, don't worry, I'll get you cleaned up. It's gonna be good, but we need to do one more take. I was like, all right, but I got a thing at 6, man. I can't be. He's like, don't worry, we got you. I got you covered. It's like, all right. So he goes, action. Pour on the blood. Pour on the blood. More blood. More blood. And he starts just dumping blood all over him.
Yeah.
So finally he yells, cut. He goes, all right, that was great. You were great, man. And I was like, fuck the great. Get this shit off of me. And then
Yeah.
he's looking at me like, oh yeah. He reaches and grabs a paper towel, like a napkin that he just randomly had on him,
Yeah.
and hands it to me. And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Mind you, this blood is like caked on, it's dry,
Yeah.
it's dried on. So I go over to this water fountain because I don't even have time to like properly curse this dude out.
Right.
I go over to a water fountain and I start dabbing the towel, trying to get it wet, wiping this blood off of me. And now, mind you, as I'm doing this, we're in the middle of the park. There is no set. There is no crew. I'm just a dude in the park covered in blood.
Yeah.
Like, there's not like people are going, they're shooting a movie. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
no.
not a great look.
I'm just a dude in the park. There's women with strollers walking by going like, what the hell is this?
Mm-hmm, of course.
Right? And I'm desperate now. So now thank goodness I had on black pants,
Mm-hmm.
but my shirt was all fucked up. And so I roll up my pants, and this is where it gets dicey. I roll up my pants, and I see the Hudson River right there. And so, out of sheer desperation,
Yeah.
I go because this callback could be the next could be Hamilton for all I know.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
just like this independent film is Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, this
yeah.
is so I can't miss this. So I roll up my pants, take off my shirt, shoes, and socks, and I start wading into the Hudson River. Just Hudson River.
Desperate, yeah.
I see that there's a rock that's perched up out of the water. I make my way to the rock and I perch myself up on the rock like a fucking mermaid and just whole new world it and just started trying to scrub this blood off of me. People are losing, like they're like, even by New York standards,
Yeah,
like,
this is low.
what is this? What is happening? The guy, the director, quote unquote, comes over and he's like, bro, I don't think that water's clean. I'm like, yeah,
thank you.
No, yeah, thank you for that. You piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think somebody called the police.
Great.
And he hauls ass out of there.
Yeah.
Right. So now I get out of the water, grab my shoes, socks, and shirt, and I just start making my way out the park. Now, luckily for me, or at least I thought luckily at the time, I had lived in that neighborhood prior and still knew someone who had a friend in that neighborhood. So I'm calling my friend, Bobby, as I'm making my way to his apartment. And and no answer, no nothing, of course. Texting, nothing. So I'm making my way, but I'm still covered in half soot, half blood, half dead body water.
Of course.
Half, no shirt, just disgusting.
Right.
I make my way in the front of his building and I'm still calling no answer. But I see his window. I know where his apartment is. So I decided to just yell his name in the middle of the street because that's how desperate I am. So I'm in the middle of the street like a pure crackhead, just yelling out Bobby, like Whitney in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Yep. Just Bobby, just in the middle of the street. Nothing. People are looking around. I'm someone else's New York moment. You know, I'm there. And the building where I was in front of was just like doubled as a dormitory for new acting students or whatever. So it's people fresh off the farm from Nebraska. Yeah. Just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm there in the middle of the street. I get nothing. And people are watching me and stuff like that. I legit heard someone say, I'm not making this up, I think he's on drugs. Like I heard someone say that, and that will haunt me for the rest of my life.
And also, you got to think, if this was the Craigslist era, which I'm also very familiar with going down for auditions in the Craigslist era, fortunately for you, people weren't going viral. You weren't ending up on TikTok or somebody's Instagram story or Instagram Live.
That's very true. The only footage that I know of is on that goddamn camera that director had. That's true. Yeah. Because back then we were still using digital cameras.
Absolutely.
Back then. Yeah, absolutely. This was like maybe iPhone, I don't even know, but yeah, true.
So someone says he's on drugs.
I think he's on drugs. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the middle of the street. So now I've given up. Now I figure I'm not gonna make my audition. And obviously this crackpot, bullshit film shoot was a dud. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna just go home, I guess. Which at the time I lived in the Bronx. So I'm going all the way from Brooklyn to the Bronx like this, which, I look like probably many of the people who were taking the same trip. Yeah. But before I could get on the train, it started raining.
Great.
Like legit downpour. And so I decided, well, instead of jogging out of the rain, I'll just sit here. I'll just stand here in the middle of the street. Mm-hmm. And try and shower this rest of this crap off of me.
Right.
So now I'm in the middle of the street shirtless, just scrubbing soot and dead body water and Hudson River and like blood and shit off of me while people are gathering under this awning, because New York is made of 90% awning.
Yep.
Like they're gathering under this awning and they're all having a communal just watch party of what the fuck is happening in front of them. And I could care less. I'm just, it's a summer day. The rain was warm and I'm just like scrubbing this shit off of me.
Yeah.
And then I go under the awning to get out of the rain. and everyone moves to the side in unison, like no parts. So it's just me on one side and everybody else on the other side.
Mhm.
And then and out of the sheer shadows, I hear someone go, "Chuck, you all right?" And it was Bobby, fucking Bobby. Shows up. He's like, "You all right? What's go? Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "I don't have time for this. Take me up to your place. I need a shirt. I need a towel now." He's like,
Yeah.
"All right." Go up, grab a shirt, dry off. I'm half explaining what just happened, but I'm like grabbing shit.
You're Russian.
Grab one of his umbrellas. I get the hell out of there. And I get on the train. Now it's like 5:50, 5:45, 5:50. I got this
Yeah.
thing at 6. And anybody that knows anything about the biz, which I knew, of course, because I'd been in New York for 6 weeks, you cannot be late to an audition. You cannot be late. So I'm like, I have a chance to make this thing. So
Yeah.
I get there, I get off, I fall off the elevator
Hmm.
at like 5:50 something.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe, I got like a couple minutes to, maybe they're running late, maybe they're
Yeah.
running. As soon as I get off, the producer sees me, he's just like, "Oh, great, you made it, cool. Come on in, we'll get you started." I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
So I don't even have time. I'm just like, I got this monologue thing that they told me to memorize with the
Yeah.
sides or whatever. I'm just like, all right.
Ready to go.
So I go in there and he goes, "Cool. Just one reminder, just one thing to set up the scene. Just remember your character has just gone through a very traumatic experience." And I was like, "I got it. Say less." And then I did it and I got the part.
You did.
I got the part. It was I mean, it's not like it did not become Hamilton, but it was a fun show. It was a
What
fun
show was
production.
it?
I can't. It was called oh God, what was it called? I don't even remember what
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
called. It
like,
was so long ago. Yeah, but it was
but
a
you got
cool.
it.
Yeah, it was a cool run. I made some good friends.
Hmm.
I'm still friends to this day. It was my first legit acting gig.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all was because normally I would have been nervous going into it.
Yeah.
And once he said you just gone through some traumatic experience, I just used what just happened to me
Yeah.
right before then. And he was like, "Oh my God, you really brought it." I'm like, yeah, I did.
If you only knew.
If you only knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my hell of a night, bloody, wild night story.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations on getting the part. I do have a couple questions about that story now.
Yeah.
Did the movie producer, movie filmmaker, did he ever contact you?
I've never seen or heard from him again. I somewhere buried in an old email, I'm sure I could find his info. I just suppressed it in the depths of my mind. And just knowing that if I ever become like super famous,
Yeah.
that footage will pop up somewhere.
It's
probably
so annoying.
unless he's like, I can't even imagine what he did. I don't even know what the film was. I never saw him again after that. I have no idea.
That's for the best, though. That's for the best. And then as far as the casting directors or producers that you auditioned for, did you ever share with them what happened before the audition?
You know what? I never shared it with them until later on. And this is much later.
Yeah.
I told that story at I think at a show or a comedy show. And they were there at the show, and that's the first time that they heard that story. So
wow.
So yeah. Eventually they heard it, but at the time I didn't tell them.
It's so funny because you do see so much wild stuff on the streets of New York, and then to think like some of it is legit people really bugging out, and some of it is just somebody who was having a really bad day.
A really bad day.
It makes you put things in perspective. And I feel like you can feel energy. I'm really big on you can feel people's energy, and you can feel when it's just coming from frustration or if it's coming from danger. But I just think that was great. Thank you for sharing that. And
no problem. And
yeah.
Just to show you how ridiculous New York City is and how jaded we can be, I didn't immediately start telling that story on stage. Like it was years later where I was randomly telling that story to a friend of mine, and
Uh-huh.
not to get a reaction out of her. It
Yeah.
was just like she told me a story, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And there's one time, and as I'm telling it, she's on the floor,
Laughing.
like on the floor, cannot breathe, and I'm like, "Huh? This is really a kind of crazy story, huh?" She's like,
Oh my God.
"Yeah, you fucking idiot! Like, what are you talking about?" I was like, by that time, so much shit. I had seen so much New York shit that I just didn't
Yeah.
even register it as like a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't even register it as your genius moment story, because that is a crazy story. Now you are doing big things now, far from getting bloodied up by strangers in the park. You are the head writer for
Yes.
Hell of a Week with Charlamagne the God on Comedy Central, airing Thursday nights at 11:30 for anyone who wants to check that out. And I just have a couple questions about that, because first of all, that's incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's a amazing gig. I'm very grateful
Mhm.
to have it and be a part of it. So yeah, all good stuff.
All good stuff. Now, being the head writer of a show like that, it's you're dealing with such topical subjects and everything's moving so quickly, but it's a once a week show. Do you feel personally responsible for every written joke that goes out, even if it wasn't your joke or your baby?
Yeah, I do.
Hmm.
I feel responsible for it, and I feel, and by responsible, I just mean from a comedic
Of
standpoint,
course.
not from a somebody was offended or upset
Of course.
standpoint.
That's yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, every joke I feel like responsible for, and even if a joke doesn't hit the way I want it to hit, I'm just like, oh man, like I feel it as if I wrote it,
Hmm.
whether I wrote it or I didn't. I'm just like, or sometimes just to give some behind the scenes stuff, it's just it might be a joke um that was different when we wrote it, but
Hmm.
then it goes through certain channels and it's like,
Right.
oh, well, we can't say it this, but say it this way, and blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh, if I
Yeah.
had said it the way I wanted it, that type of stuff. But
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah.
yeah. But
Uh,
that stuff happens.
yeah, that stuff happens. And because it's a once a week show and the news is changing so quickly, how early do you start the writing process, and how up to the minute of when you start taping and filming do things start to get cut and changed?
We start the writing process. Well, it's funny. We started on Monday, knowing that it's going to change unless
Hmm.
something crazy happened like that day.
Yeah.
We just know it's going to change, but we don't want to be lazy about it. So
Hmm.
we actually start the process on Monday of getting stories, seeing what's going on and what could we talk about if we were to shoot the show
Hmm.
that day. And then by Tuesday, we kind of have a little better idea of what we might talk about. And that's because we have to get things going as far as production wise, because in TV, it takes time to build graphics and get, videos, news footage cleared or
Hmm.
whatever, all that. As opposed to when you're doing, when I'm just like, how come it can't be like when I do my podcast? Just grab
Yeah.
it all online and just do it. It's like,
Hmm.
no, you gotta blah, blah, blah. So we try to have stuff locked in a little bit on Tuesday, but things still change. And by Wednesday is when we're really kind of like set on, okay, everything's locked for the most part, unless
Yeah.
something insane
Wild.
happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, Wednesday is when we lock it down and we have a script read through with Charlamagne,
Hmm.
and we still might make changes, but as far as the stories, they're pretty locked by Wednesday. And we're just changing jokes and stuff like that.
And
And topical jokes can go up to like literally that Thursday.
wow.
We'll swap in like topical jokes and stuff like that.
And on a personal note, so obviously the show airs on Thursday nights. Friday, I'm assuming everybody's off chilling, right?
Friday is it's a light day. Let's say that.
Light day. So
Yeah.
so when you have your Friday, you have your Saturday, you have your weekend, you have your Sunday, and you hear things going on in the news, are you able to turn off and just be Charles? These are the things I got to focus on. Or are you making notes? This will be great for the show. This will be great for the show. This will be great for the show. Are you ever able to turn off?
I do a better job of that now.
Hmm.
At first, I wasn't, but now I do a better job of it. And knowing that if it's really something popping over the weekend, it'll still be popping by like Sunday evening,
Yeah.
Monday morning, Sunday evening. So like I do a pretty good job of like Friday, Saturday. I'm pretty checked out. I'm not really looking at the news. I still, surf Twitter
Hmm.
and see kind of if anything is going crazy, but I don't do too many deep dives over the weekend. I kind of chill.
Now with this show, late night show, panel show, there's other late night shows out there. There's other panel shows out there. Are you, especially ones that air on the same day, because a lot of shows are daily, are you ever worried about jokes being repeated on your show that totally by accident, of course, but is that ever a fear?
It's not really a fear, but we do try to. Well, one, the great thing about our show, I mean, I guess it's not great in totality, but great for us is that Charlamagne is very unique and specific. He has a very unique, specific voice
Yeah.
and POV. So
Hmm.
he's not going to do the same joke or the same type of joke as a Kimmel or
Yep.
or Jim Fallon or something
Yeah.
like that. Like we're very we talk about politics, but we do it from a Black perspective.
Hmm.
Some might call it like a street or hip hop perspective. It's just like we're different. We speak a different language a little bit. So our
Right.
take really isn't crossing over with anybody else in late night
Good. Yeah.
right now. So we're pretty safe on that as far as that goes.
Now, the most recent episode, you had Tommy Davidson on the panel. Tommy Davidson has been famous our entire lives.
Yeah,
and to have someone like him on the panel, and I know it's not your first rodeo in television. You've been behind the scenes and stuff, doing stuff. And obviously you're a comedian for a long time. So you've probably had to meet some pretty big legends. Is there any part of you that is starstruck or any part of you that's nervous for when someone of that caliber comes on the show?
Oh, totally. It's funny you say that because, these kids today, they might look at a Tommy Davidson and be like, well, why would it be? But for me,
Mhm.
I grew up watching him. So I only get starstruck when it's people that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
I really get a kick out of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, somebody like him, anybody that I grew up
Yeah.
going, this person was in my home for
Forever.
they helped shape
Mhm.
my, comedic whatever sensibilities. So yeah, I do get started. I'm not gonna I
Yeah.
don't try to be too cool for school. I get
Yeah.
pretty excited when I see somebody on the board. We have our mock SNL board where we
Mhm.
see like who's coming up, and then whenever
Yeah.
it's somebody that my inner childhood relates to, I'm just like, oh boy, I
Yeah.
get excited.
Have you ever had, and obviously you don't have to name any names, but have you ever had someone on the panel that you were either disappointed by on or off screen? Like, damn, I was excited for this person and they didn't bring it the way that I wanted them to, or they didn't treat us as nicely as they could have off screen.
You know what? I did, and I'm gonna name them. No, I'm not gonna name them.
Oh, I got so excited for a second.
No, yeah, that it happens. Usually it's sometimes sometimes we like to rely on super big names, and we've had enough, I think, guests by this point that people can't really pluck out who I'm talking about.
Right.
But sometimes it'll be like the network will be excited for like a big name comedy wise or a name
Mhm.
that pops out comedy wise. Me personally, I like to vouch for comedians that have some following but are hungry and that are going to come and just bring it. That's
Yeah.
just me because I don't give a shit about I'm not a TV blah blah blah. I just want the
Yeah.
content to be great.
Yeah.
And so whenever it's like whenever we bring on someone and they're relying on that one person to be the comic relief, but if they're a big name, sometimes they don't come on to like bring the funny. They come on, because they're like, I'm a celebrity too.
Mhm.
You know, they just rely on their
Star power.
I kind of say they like almost open mic it,
Mhm.
yeah, the star power. And so it's like, okay, it's great. We got this name and this familiar person on there, but they're just kind of whatever.
Right.
Whereas when we got Yamanika on
Mhm.
or, somebody like that, they're coming
Yeah,
ready
she doesn't stop. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like stuff like that. I'll be like, but we haven't had anybody be like a jerk or
Good,
anybody
good.
be, anything bad like that.
It's tough to be like that in 2022 anyway, because people will find you out. And I just have one more question for you, because I know you are a busy bee and you got some work to do and places to be. But I do want to ask you this, and this is a more personal question, or more, personal life question rather than on the show. I saw on your Instagram a couple weeks ago you were at the pop-up show for Dave Chappelle. I saw him. I saw him at the Garden last November, and it was a concert within a documentary, within a comedy show. They locked our phones up, as you know. I'd never seen anything like it. And I actually thought I was going to break my neck when Busta Rhymes came on stage. So what was that show like? Did you have a heads up? Were you like, how'd you get down up there?
I mean, it was great. I'll give you this tidbit, because I like to give people the impression that I'm way more inside and important and cool than I am. When in reality, I just got an email from Ticketmaster.
Oh, nice.
They were like, "Hey, we think you'd probably, want to check this out." And I was like, "You're absolutely right.
I'm in."
And so yeah, it was literally as easy as that. And it was obviously sold out quickly, so
of course.
I had to hurry up and jump on it. But yeah, it was amazing. It was, and this is how great Dave Chappelle is. The reason it was at midnight, and it was a 2-day notice, but it was at midnight, was because his daughter wanted to see whoever was in town that night at a concert. So he decided to take his daughter to the concert and then have the show at midnight. So it was just a matter of, oh yeah, I'll take my daughter to this thing, and then I'll just have my show at Radio City at midnight.
This is when I can do it.
Yeah. It was, I mean, and it sold out, of course, and it was great. Ronnie Chang was there, Michael Che was there, Earthquake was there. They all performed. They were great. And then, sure enough, Busta Rhymes performed at the end, and Chappelle was great. Chappelle's he's so great that you don't really know when he's doing a bit or when he's just freestyling. It's like some comics, you can tell when it's like, okay, they're going off the top and this is a bit. Even his freestyles feel like bits. It was interchangeable. And I also saw him at Madison Square. I saw him with Kevin Hart and Chris Rock.
Ooh.
And I saw some of the stuff he did there, like he built upon. So it was cool to see how he built upon that from what I saw him working on there. It was like, I love the inner workings and the mechanics of it. I saw Chris Rock at Radio City not too long ago, and I love seeing him build his stuff and build his stuff out. Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. It was amazing.
With seeing all three of them, do you listen to Kevin Hart's podcast?
I don't. I don't. I check out clips here and there, but I don't listen to it every week.
Comedy Gold Mines. Well, he had Steve Harvey on, and Steve Harvey was telling him, you four, including Tracy Morgan, he said, you four need to use each other's power and come together. I'm telling you, you'll sell out every night. He said, we did it, and you guys will do it in the new generation. You'll break. He was basically telling them, you'll break records that we already broke the records. You'll break even more records. And he was encouraging the four of them to go out on the road together. So when I saw that Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, and Dave Chappelle were all out together, I just thought, A, this is genius. They're listening to Steve Harvey. He knows what he's talking about. And B, it's you have to see it to believe it. I wish I saw it. You have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. Kevin Hart brought out a live goat on stage.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that. Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. It was great.
That's amazing.
And they didn't know that Chappelle was coming on that show.
Wow.
Yeah, they had no idea. We came to see Chris Rock and Kevin Hart.
Because that was their tour.
Right. And the lights dimmed, and we were like, oh, we didn't know who was going to headline, who was going to come out first. The lights dimmed, Radiohead started playing. And all of a sudden, Dave Chappelle's symbol, his C, the letter C, just appeared on the screen. And we were like,
God.
Wow! Just lost our minds. And it was great. I love seeing a comedy show have the same response as a legitimate rock concert.
A rock show, yeah.
That's how it should be.
That's how it
That's
should
how it
be.
should be.
All right, Charles. Well, I agree with you on that. I bet the floor was shaking. Now, you have any shows coming up that you can plug, let the people know where they can come see you?
Yes, I have a show on November 11th, which is Veterans Day.
Okay.
It's a Friday, and it's a new show that's going to be at West Side Comedy Club. I'm co-hosting it with, or co-producing it with my good friend Regina. I was DeChico, and it's a crowd work show.
Hmm.
So it's going to be a good time. It's all impromptu. You're going to see the best comedians, some of the best comedians in New York City, like just doing crowd work, doing, going in, taking, suggestions from the audience, going off the top. Like it's going to be a good time. So
Amazing.
come
You know what
on, come
time
on,
that
10
is?
o'clock.
10
10
o'clock.
o'clock.
Beautiful. All right. Well, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media.
You can follow me. You can follow me home for all I care. It's all good.
Just no red
at
paint.
social media. Right, exactly. No red paint. Charles McBee, just my name. Type in my name on the socials. MCB as in boy, EE. And I will come up. I'm gonna pay Elon Musk $20 so I can get my blue check. And
Oh, that's all it costs?
that's all it costs.
Oh, damn.
He's a man of the people. That Elon.
What can we ask? What else can we ask for?
What else can we ask for? But yeah, that's where I'll be on all things.
All right, Charles. Well, thank you so much. You delivered on your story. Thank you for answering all my questions. I loved all that inside info, and I appreciate you doing the show. You and I will talk soon, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Bye, Charles.